Elon Musk. Some say he's the real-life Iron Man, Tony Stark. Others say he's nothing but the best used car salesman. But is he the greatest scammer on Earth? Or is he a billionaire who just happens to get things wrong a lot of the times, but then also always just happens to keep the money he took from you with no refunds? According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, a scammer is one who perpetuates a scam or a person who participates in a fraudulent scheme or operation. Elon Musk before, Elon Musk after. There we have it. Irrefutable proof he is a scammer. All jokes aside, let's see if Elon Musk's actions fall within the definition of a scammer. In our modern day, the closest thing we have to literal world emperors are billionaires, whose fortunes make a mockery of economies of smaller nations. Although the unofficial title of world emperor and richest man on earth might actually be in fact Vladimir Putin. According to the Forbes 2022 billionaires list, Elon Musk is the individual with the best claim to the luxurious throne of being the official world emperor, with an estimated net worth of between 200 and 300 billion. In effect, making his fortune larger than the economy of Portugal. People are always drawn to innovation and ideas about what the future can potentially look like. Investors will put money into companies if they're convinced that they'll be churning out the next big technological hit a few years down the line. Future casting and projecting what ideas can potentially look like with pretty 3D renderings is no doubt one of the strongest strengths of Elon Musk. But is it a skill set worth $300 billion? You might think that you'd have to be an exceptional businessman to be crowned the official emperor of our corporate world. A lot of mainstream media and financial experts like to sell the idea that everything Elon touches literally turns into gold by parroting whatever his team recently sent them through an online press release. But is he the god of overpromising and underdelivering and saying one thing but doing another? Here are the facts. It's not a secret that Musk and his company love to ask for and accept government handouts. This wouldn't have been such an issue except for the fact he was literally on Twitter telling people that he disagreed with government subsidies for the American people affected by COVID on 24th of July 2020. Elon's companies, Tesla and SpaceX, have received more than $7 billion in government contracts alone and billions more in tax breaks, loans, and other subsidies. In addition to that, Tesla has sold at least $6 billion worth of government-backed electric vehicle credits. That's already $13 billion in government handouts that he was perfectly okay receiving. And let's not forget how Tesla Motors started. Tesla got off the ground with just a small loan from the government, a $465 million Energy Department grant issued in 2010. The funds were double the amount that Tesla raised when it went public that year. Whilst Elon was staunchly against using government funds to stimulate the economy and help the average Joe during COVID, he was once again totally fine with handouts supporting him to send his own customers to the moon during that national emergency. Yes, you heard right. Musk was more worried about sending people to the moon than saving actual humans on Earth. NASA awarded SpaceX $2.9 billion in April 2021 to work towards landing commercial humans on the moon. The lack of self-awareness and hypocrisy is actually impressive and deserves a round of applause. So, can we really take him seriously when he speaks out against government subsidies then? Why would anyone support what he says when clearly his actions don't match his words? Or is it perhaps maybe he believes that government support isn't necessary when he can fix everything himself? Flint, Michigan has gone through a crisis over the last few years in which their water was contaminated and many fell sick. In July 2018, Musk came on Twitter to the rescue once again as he wrote, "Please consider this a commitment that I will fund fixing the water in any house in Flint that has water contamination above FDA levels." No kidding. Last I checked, that tweet was made 4 years ago. Since then, he has become the richest person in the world, and Flint residents are now having to pay extraordinary amounts for water, with most of the core infrastructure that caused the water crisis in the first place being left exactly as it was, leaving people worried the problems could easily return. Admittedly, by now, with a lot of government help, the situation has undoubtedly improved, but reports of residents now paying $100 a month for water is hardly a long-term solution. At the time of recording this video, Elon Musk has not followed through on his commitment to fund fixing the water in any house in Flint that has water contamination above FDA levels. And let's not forget the drama he started in relation to the case of the kids' soccer team stuck in that Thai cave disaster in 2018. A quick recap of what happened. A kids' soccer team in Thailand on a field trip were stranded in a cave with rising floodwaters threatening to drown everyone. This persisted for days, and the story grabbed the world's attention. A handful of brave divers ended up going in and saving those children, but not before one of them sadly died during the rescue efforts. So, how did Elon Musk, the world's richest man, come in to save the day? Did he offer to fund the entire rescue effort? Did he offer to fund any of the rescue effort? Did he offer any value that could help the rescue effort at all? This is what he actually did. He waded into the conversation, although not the water, claiming that he'd built a mini submarine to save the day and then also accused one of the lead British rescuers to be a child molester by calling him a pedo guy. I mean, it just makes you think.
What? What the fuck?
All this because that British lead rescuer, who was actually on the scene diving in the cave, risking his own life, performing rescues, disagreed with Musk that his non-existent submarine would be able to do anything considering the conditions inside the cave. At least this time, in the end, Musk backed away from the confrontation and publicly apologized, after being served some humble pie with his tail between his legs. What about the track records of his companies then? Most people will probably remember the Tesla Cyber road truck that was revealed in 2017 in that awkward choreographed stage performance. Musk confidently declared that if you ordered at that time, you'd have your Tesla Cyber road truck delivered by 2019. It's been at least 5 years since the first pre-orders of the Tesla Cyber road truck were placed, and none of the people that pre-ordered these amazing futuristic trucks got anything delivered. Oh, and no refunds were given either. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I need your support to continue making great quality videos. Oh, and I will actually deliver on my promises, unlike someone else. Tesla in general, which is arguably the most lauded of all of his glittering ventures, is possibly the biggest bubble company in the world. The company is valued at more than all other car manufacturers combined, yet it makes less than 1% of the cars sold worldwide. Here's just a visual representation of what I just said. As you can see, Tesla's market cap is the same as the next 10 automakers combined. But then here's a graph of how many cars the company actually produced compared to the rest of the market. That's a heck of a lot of money backing up a car company, in the grand scheme of things, that barely makes any cars if you look at it objectively. It's not just on the ground where Musk has convinced people to see something that isn't really there. SpaceX Raptor engines were meant to be the innovation that took commercial space travel to the next level. Whilst Musk's rockets to space were certainly attention-grabbing, most evidence seems to point to the fact that SpaceX is much closer to collapse than transforming space travel. A leaked international email revealed that he wrote, "The Raptor production crisis is much worse than it seemed a few weeks ago." He also said there is a genuine risk of bankruptcy if we cannot achieve a Starship flight rate of at least once every 2 weeks next year. SpaceX has done a great job of making a name for itself, but the $125 billion valuation it holds is far more about marketing than mechanics. Musk sells the dream of a cyber utopian future to the media, who immediately, mindlessly reprint what he claims. But can anyone actually see it? The list of promised deliveries that are still years away from possibly happening only seems to get longer the more time people give Musk to prance around without anything to show. Here's just a short list of other notable promised deliveries that never arrived. The Hyperloop, announced in 2015, was going to be a mode of transportation that generated more power than it consumed, and at 10% of the cost of high-speed rail, traveling at 1,000 kilometers per hour in a vacuum tube. All that for just $20 a ride. Honestly, that would be incredibly impressive if it did exist. In reality, the section describing the proposed Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. tunnels where this fantastical Hyperloop idea was going to operate have now been scrubbed completely from its website. However, before this incredible claim was all but silently removed from the official online documentation, Elon Musk was stating that the Hyperloop would be useful on Mars, as no tubes would be needed because Mars' atmosphere is about 1% the density of the Earth's at sea level. But let's face it, if he can't even get it to work on Earth, with all the government-funded backing and support he can get, then how will he ever be able to achieve this on Mars, which no one's ever even walked on? But hey, who has time for such details when you can be inflating your own net worth? This wouldn't be so infuriating if he didn't speak such complete gibberish with the absolute confidence that he does. You might be able to just have a road. Honestly, it would go pretty fast. It would obviously have to be electric because there is no oxygen. You have to have really fast electric cars or trains or things. I don't know about you, but doesn't that remind you of how a 5-year-old would describe the future? Like this.
Have you ever had a dream that you could...
I honestly expected a lot more from Musk, the billionaire technological messiah of innovation and technology that the media portrays him to be. Then what about his boring company? The name behind this company was probably chosen as a tongue-in-cheek nod to how exciting some of these ideas seem. This tunnel-making venture that recently hit $5.7 billion in valuation was set out to eliminate soul-destroying traffic using a vast network of underground tunnels. The claim was Musk's company would be able to drill underground tunnels to act as wormholes and evade congestion. Just listen to how he describes it himself.
You can think of these like wormholes, like, oh, I need to get to the other side of LA or New York or whatever, drop down the wormhole, pop out the other side.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Wow, this sounds actually pretty amazing, if only it existed. Because unfortunately, real civil engineer experts and tunneling industry veterans, the people that actually drill tunnels for a living, have strong doubts about his claims. In February, Martin Herinecht, the CEO of Herinecht, one of the world's largest manufacturers of tunnel boring machines, dismissed Musk as being full of hot air. Jian Zhao, a professor of civil engineering and tunnel boring expert at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, said that he didn't see Musk giving their current approach would be able to do things as they promised. I don't see any technology being mentioned. And reality so far is proving Musk's critics correct. Until this day, the boring company has failed to deliver revolutionary underground wormhole-like tunnels that can solve the traffic problems that Elon claimed he would at the cost he said he could. Next, we can look at Elon's robo-taxis. Musk said this eye-catching idea is going to look quite futuristic looking. Ironically, this sums up his entrepreneurial facade perfectly. Other companies such as Google's Waymo already significantly lead the way in self-driving cars, but spend far less time marketing things that don't exist. His most recent claim about the Tesla robo-taxi is that production will start by 2024. If one of Musk's companies does break his trend and actually deliver on time, then they are still a long way behind the competition. Elon has tried to make up for this by saying that current Teslas that are on the road will be easily converted into robotaxis, meaning production at a huge scale will be quickly achievable. He said $50 billion in car sales could produce another $50 billion in incremental profit with software margins. Now, to give you a perspective of how realistic this $50 billion in profit would be, here's a graph of the most profitable car companies in 2020. As you can see, Toyota was the most profitable car company, generating $19.1 billion, with Volkswagen generating $15.54 billion, coming in at second place. If you added up all the profits from the top 5 car companies in the world combined for that year, it would be $51.6 billion. So, when Elon claims $50 billion in car sales could produce another $50 billion in incremental profit with software margins, one must consider how head-slappingly stupid and laughable that statement is, considering that Tesla car sales make up 1% of the global market. And let's not forget, when Musk was on stage publicly announcing that owners of robotaxi Teslas could earn $30,000 in gross revenue or more than $300,000 in revenue over the 11-year lifespan of their car, and they'll be able to do this at 50% utility. I'm not even joking. Elon Musk said all this with a straight face that using a basic version of the Model 3 costing $38,000 after incentives, you could have a self-driving Tesla robotaxi earning $30,000 a year with it operating half the time. Don't believe me? Here's the actual video.
You say, what would be the probable gross profit from a single robotaxi? We think probably something on the order of $30,000 per year. And this assumes that 50% of the miles driven are not useful. So this is only at 50% utility.
Now, I'm not a math genius, but based on what Musk claims, a Model 3 costs $38,000. The lifespan is 11 years, and I can generate revenue of $30,000 a year. That's $30,000 times 11 equals $330,000 revenue in a lifetime. Total revenue divided by the cost of the car would get me the rate of my investment return, which would be $330,000 total revenue divided by $38,000 cost of the car equals 8.684 rate of investment return. So Elon Musk is telling me that I would earn 8.684 times the amount of money I spent on the cost of buying the Tesla Model 3 in 11 years, and that's using it at 50% utility. So, if it were at 100% utility, it would be closer to 16 times. This is an incredible investment. It almost sounds like Tesla has come across a money printing machine. But if this were true, I have another question. Why would Tesla be selling anyone any robotaxi cars at all, instead of keeping it for themselves? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? As time goes on and the promises mount up without any tangible results, sooner or later even his strongest supporters will have a hard time defending his stunning track record of non-deliverables. For the markets, it's important that his investors continue to pretend they believe in these ludicrous Star Trek philanthropist dreams so share prices don't crash and poop the bed. But what goes up must come down. These insane and remarkably unrealistic high valuations cannot hold on forever. At some point, we'll also have to admit that maybe the emperor might have no clothes, and we can see that none of what was promised has actually materialized. So, is Elon Musk the greatest scammer on Earth? Does he perpetuate scams, and is he a person who commits or participates in fraudulent scheme or operations? Well, let's see. He promised to give you a Hyperloop. Just give him money up front first. He promised to give you a Cybertruck. Just give him money up front first. He promised to give you a robotaxi. Just give him money up front first. And these robotaxis will make you $30,000 a year in passive income. Just give him money up front first. Heck, basically anything he promises, he says he'll give it to you, as long as you give him money up front first. And after all this time, he's only getting richer and richer while moving on to bigger and more elaborate futurist projects offering even more promises. As long as you give him money up front first. Does this seem like the actions of a scammer to you? If you still don't think that doesn't, then you know what? I just happen to be working with Elon Musk on a supersonic gravity-defying Hyperloop bridge. I'm confident Elon and I will be able to deliver it in just 2 years, as long as you give me the money up front first.